Hello there guys and welcome to yet another video. We're back to doing thief videos, yay! Okay, now, here's the thing. It was patch day last Tuesday, and unfortunately for me, it was also exam week, so I couldn't bring you guys a thief video back then. But from what I've been hearing is a lot of people are complaining that Pistol Thief is dead. So I decided to take my hand at it because honestly Pistol Thief wasn't even that great to begin with, but I feel actually like it's been buffed in my opinion. I know a lot of people aren't going to agree with me, but if you just take this approach at it, it deals so much damage. It is currently not a 1v1 build, but it deals so much damage that if you're in a 2v2 per se, there's no way you'll lose. Like, there's a very little chance that you'll actually end up not killing one of the other persons. So I want to cover a couple of the changes that came in. I kind of just want to cover the Amulet change to Berserker's Amulet and the change to our traits. Just do a little bit of an overview over it. So the Berserker Amulet is no longer what it used to be. Now it's kind of like the power equivalent of Assassin's Amulet, which I think was a wonderful change. And this used to be one of my main complaints about the Berserker Amulet. The fact that it seemed better than the Assassin's Amulet just because it gave more survivability through the VIT, and you didn't seem to really lose anything for it. Now there's a new amulet, if I'm not mistaken it's called the Rampagers or Marauders, something like that. And it's basically the old Berserk amulet, but I haven't been playing around with that because I've been wanting to play with this new Berserker amulet and the Assassin's amulet, as it just seems to fit my playstyle a lot more. As a matter of fact, I'm running Assassin's amulet on this build. I'll explain why later on when I cover the build, but yeah, I've been running it and it's a lot of fun. Alright, so I think I'm going to go about the traits like this. I want to cover, first of all, the ones that I think were most positively influenced by the changes. And then I'll cover the ones that I think are either the same or, you know, they got a little bit of a nerf through the changes. So first of all is critical strikes. Sadly, I think the first trait is kind of PvE exclusive. I mean, most of that trait is kind of just like keeping your health above a certain point, but it's whatever. But as the name states, it has been improved so well into just being able to do these heavy critical strikes, and I really like what they have done because it actually feels like it focuses on hitting crits now rather than what it used to be, which I kind of felt was more like a semi-utility, kind of like bundled with deadly arts most of the time. I have found a pretty peculiar build, which I think I'll do. My next video, I'll probably do it. It's focused heavily on the critical strikes line, but the thing is, it's not running like a super high percentage of crit. Rather, it's running super high survivability on, you know, 100% chance to crit on stealth. So it's kind of like a stealth backstab build. It's an update to my stealth backstab build that I haven't done in like forever, and I'm really happy that I've found some positive results with it. It's not overwhelmingly positive, but it seems to be getting the job done. So as far as it goes, with this build, I actually found that Runes of Rage or Runes of the Citadel worked really well with critical strikes line, and it seems to be doing a wonderful job at it. I'm also really happy about the Acrobat trait line. IMO, it has been turned more into a skill build rather than, you know, roll around randomly, because let's face it, before what you used to do is that you used to roll and then you'd get forgiven a little bit because it would give you part of your endurance back. Nowadays, it's more rewarding if you actually properly roll because it'll give you vigor. And it makes our vigor better than the other profession's vigor. You know what I mean? It increases our vigor's efficiency, making us roll a lot more than what other classes get to roll just through vigor. I'm not talking about getting endurance back from other places. I feel like it synergizes really well, and it also gives us a replacement to Shadow Step, because as far as I'm concerned, Shadow Step is really good, but you know, running it on every single build it can get kind of stale and kind of a little bit boring, but Acrobat gives us a wonderful replacement. When we get stunned, break stun, and we get 100% of our endurance back, and we basically just get out of there and start dodging right away. I think this is a wonderful change, and it's awesome because now you don't need to run a bunch of stun breaks, especially if you're running the Acrobats line. That's about it, what I gotta say about the Acrobats line. The Shadow Arts line, this is substantially better for stealth focused build. I really just enjoy my backstab build so much better nowadays. Even though I don't get to do it with Dagger because you don't get as much success with that in SPVP, but it's still pretty good for stealth focused builds because now it runs baseline. It reduces your damage when you're in stealth or with the stealth effects that you apply. I've never done the stealth medic build that I've seen on YouTube a couple times, but I can't see how it kind of got a little bit of a buff. Hopefully, I don't actually know if this is true since, as I said, I haven't actually ran it. But regardless, it feels like a line more impactful for survival. Okay, so Deadly Arts. The Deadly Arts line is kind of a weird one because most of our damage isn't anymore in our trait line. Most of our traits are more focused on playstyle, which I think is a good thing. Honestly, I don't think it's a bad thing that ArenaNet has done this, but most of our playstyle is now focused around our traits rather than around what stats our traits are giving us, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, since all of our stats are now in our amulets, we can run whatever. We can run a Berserker amulet with SA, SA on Acro and Trickery, and you know it could still be viable. I don't actually know if it is, but it could be made viable because all that does is change the way that we play with that Berserker's amulet, which I think is a good thing. But I feel like Deadly Arts has been impacted a little bit by it. I'm not saying that it's being bad. I'm just saying it hasn't been as positively improved as the other lines. Some traits that I really don't understand for PvP would be dagger hits applying poison, mostly because like the only time that dagger gets to be Condi is when you go dagger and you Death Blossom spam, but even then, you know, people say that's not the most effective build or, you know, the greatest one out there. But if you're running dagger, you're most likely looking to deal a lot of damage really quickly and kill the enemy off before they can even retaliate back to you. I don't know, it just feels like Deadly Arts is doing more sustained damage rather than burst, and I would have liked for it to have been more bursty, hence the name Deadly Arts. And finally, the last line that I haven't talked about and the one that I feel like remained mostly the same is the Trickery line. I think this line has almost been the same, but I kind of like this because it used to be really effective to the point where like most thief builds were having to run this Trickery line, but now I feel like that's not the case. You don't really need to run the Trickery line anymore because all the other lines just got so much better, right? I still think the Trickery line is gonna be meta. I just don't think it's gonna be meta for every single build out there. Alright, on to the build before the video finishes. So we got the Trickery line for the extra initiative and haste when attacking from behind. When you use a ranged weapon, you really will get to just hit from behind a lot. I don't know, I found myself getting that haste buff quite a bit. And even if we don't, we still take in our utility, the haste and the roll for initiative for the extra initiative and Shadow Refuge, which, you know, is pretty standard. We also pick up the trait that gives us Condi Cleanse when using a trick. This is really useful because now Withdraw is a trick and Roll for Initiative being a trick as well. Those are two really good defensive tricks, and it just synergizes so well with them because when you're rolling back, it's probably because you're taking a lot of heavy damage and you don't want to keep those conditions on you. So yeah, really good, really well. And then we pick up the standard Sleight of Hands for the extra dazes. In critical strikes, we kind of take some of the traits that, you know, are not all too effective, such as flawless strikes, but later on it will make up for it and it will probably make it worth it. Unrelenting strikes is probably our main synergy for this build. It is the bread and butter of the build, as it is going to give us that fury that we need, and from that fury we're just going to be basically trying to keep it up for as long as we can, and we'll be at near 90%, if not higher, critical strike chance with a ton of ferocity. Alright, so the fury combined with practice tolerance and no quarter, as well as our runes of rage, is just gonna making us deal a whole buttload of damage. It's gonna be ridiculous. Like, we're gonna be critting almost every hit of unload, and all of those crits are gonna be dealing increased damage because of the runes of rage and from all the ferocity that we're getting. It's just, and practice tolerance is giving us more ferocity based on our precision. It's just wonderful. It's an awesome trait. As well as the boon ferocity, as well as the boon fury, sorry, giving us more ferocity. Now on to acrobat. So in acrobat we get the typical, you know, dodge gives us swiftness and stuff, and when we dodge properly we gain vigor. I talked about this already. I really like this change. And we get, you know, the increased vigor, making us better than, you know, what the other professions get. Hard to catch is basically going to be our shadow step replacement. Even though, you know, our utility skills already have a lot of stun breaks, this refills our endurance almost completely, and it makes it just such a good trait. Like, it's honestly, guys, this is, I prefer this over shadow step, but I don't know about you guys. This is just my preference. Maybe it's because I think shadow step's getting a little bit stale. Been running that for so long now. The bad thing about this is, if we get stunned with full endurance, that's kind of a little bit of a waste, but, you know, mostly we don't want to be full endurance when we're in the middle of a fight. And then we get a nice heal when we unload, mostly. Well, when we use any utility, any skill that uses initiative. But, you know, it's so nice. It's a pretty cool heal, and it actually tells us how much it heals us for now. Alright, so for runes, we don't actually want to take runes of the ogre like I have here. This is kind of like the beta build. We want to take runes of rage, because runes of rage is just going to be making us hit so much harder. And I've also found rune of the citadel, which it depends. It's mostly a preference. I prefer rune of rage just because it's a little bit more damage, but runes of the citadel is also viable. You can run that with this. And standard, we take Sigil of Air and Sigil of Fire as you would with any burst build. And then we take the Assassin's Amulet over the Berserker's Amulet, because we want to be critting with almost every hit that we're doing, because we're just getting so much ferocity, rather than, you know, having a slightly lower chance to crit, but, you know, slightly better crits. You know what I mean? We're trying to get as many crits as possible, because we don't want those white hits. We don't want the regular hits. We want the super strong hits. The Berserker Amulet can help, and it is really viable. You don't really need to take the Assassin's Amulet, but I feel like the Assassin's Amulet does a better job at this. It just makes it so much better because of the amount of shots that we're shooting out. There's so many chances where we could be getting white hits that could also be crit hits, and that would just boost our DPS so much. Alright guys, as always, if you stuck with me this long, thanks so much for watching the video. Drop a like, comment, do whatever you feel like it. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys in the next video.